and sidewalks and Parks and Recreation requested maintenance specialist positions. And then the Stormwater Enterprise requested an equipment operator position. So what I'd like to do is turn it back over to council for discussion and some direction. On this slide, what we have is possible options for consideration are listed on the left side of the PowerPoint, and then those unfunded positions are listed on the right. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and feel free to discuss.
Anybody have any questions or comments for, do you have any? No? Okay. Yes.
So what I would like to see is, I'd like to add a Parks and Rec person. It's been a few years for that, and I feel like they're spread thin. And I think that was like 113,000, I think.
So one thing that can be done with the Parks Maintenance
113.
Specialist position, if council wanted to do that, is the truck that would be driven by this individual can be purchased out of park impact fees. So that would reduce the impact to the general fund. The impact to the general fund would be $67,262 for a full 12 years, or 12 months.
So I think that that was one of my wish lists, is to do that. I'm okay with adding the assistant that you had already proposed for the fire, the executive assistant. And then I would like to see the line items go away for the sponsorships and have them come in. Something could happen, just anything. And so I don't know anybody that just gives it to you every year without finding out a report every year, how your event went. You know, how did it go? Did it go great? Okay, then.
You can dig out their report every year, right? They're wide open. Their books are open. So, hold on. No, hold on. If you're going to speak, you got to come up here. Any rate, I would say leave it as it is. How do you guys feel over here about it?
I feel like leave it as it is also.
Anthony, how do you feel?
Yes, sir. Thank you. These events these line items, excuse me, are synonymous with Orange City, and I imagine will continue to be very much integral to what we refer to as community. Now, I believe I understand where Councilmember Marks is going with this, and that is a level of accountability. Now, if we don't have them as line items, and they have to come in, when would they come in with a report, since this is stuff that the manatee's in January? So when would the report be after? I mean, they would ask for the money before the event or after the event? I mean, so now if it's not in the budget, right? So now really it's after the fact. You've taken the money from them. We come to that we don't have these line items, and now everybody has to have their events, then come back in, qualify that they were successful or not, but had to be out of pocket, and maybe they were successful, perhaps they weren't successful. But, so the accountability is cart horse.
So what did they do before we did the line items? I was just curious.
They would come in every year, right?
Yeah, what time of year, though?
So at the same time, in preparation for your budget, and the real critical reason why you went this way is that it used to be open up to, before 4 years ago, everybody could ask for up to $5,000. And because that was the maximum amount that could be asked for, that's all you got applications for, was for $5,000. And there was not enough money to go around. As you know, the process that we follow, in fact, we had a meeting this morning, is that everyone, including the line item budgets, must submit an application with all of their detail on how the money will be spent. They submit a brief report after the fact to get their money, because only first-year events are able to be front-ended the money. Otherwise, it's on a reimbursement basis. So they submit a report outlining how they're going to spend the money and what their in-kind service needs are. And all of that is presented to a staff committee that reviews the application according to a specific set of numerical criteria. The reason why there is a distinguishment is because when you reviewed the applications against the criteria, the same groups scored the highest each year. And those were the Manatee Club and the Cirrhosis Club, followed closely by Everybody Is Somebody. And the reason, I think, and I'm paraphrasing because it's been a fast minute, is because the criteria asked how is it in line with the strategic plan, how does it benefit Orange City economic development, how does it, contribute to the overall health and well-being of Orange City. And these particular groups scored the highest, and other groups scored lower. And so there was always the taking the numerical scores and apportioning $30,000 10 ways against people who had $50,000 worth of applications. And people would get very upset that they were not ranked as high as the Manatee Club, the Cirrhosis Club, Everybody Is Somebody, or the School of Government, which is really a separate consideration. So City Council, after hearing the same basically story, that the same people got the $5,000 and other people did not get $5,000, decided to line item out the groups that had been around for the longest, had consistently produced programs that met the strategic plan, the economic development goals, and put them in the budget, and said that, you still need to go through the process, but unless something changes, we're going to make these a line item focus in your budget for you to basically do on a pass-fail basis. Everyone else would need to come in and, apply each year for the $1,000 amount. And, we get new people all the time. We get repeats. Today you heard from two groups that were dissatisfied with the fact that they could not ask for more than $1,000. They both wanted the $5,000 amounts. So, with the $30,000 budget, it's hard to make everybody happy. So that's how you came into having the two sets of people. One for the recurring line item amounts, which you wanted to contribute more to be consistent with past practices, and then an open ability for anyone to apply for $1,000. And of course, anyone can apply for any amount of in-kind.
Right.
So,
When we spoke on the one-on-ones, Devlin, I think Mayor brought up that, 14,000 really wouldn't do much. We talked about that you could take some money out of the, which fund was it, to fund the Parks and Rec, and then the 14,000 would just be less we be taken out of that fund, basically, right?
Correct. So the vehicle for the parks maintenance specialist can be taken out of the parks impact fees. If you were to fund the parks maintenance specialist for 12 months and made no further adjustments, including reducing the $14,000, you would still be able to reduce the millage rate to 6.8691, which represents a 4.19% increase over the rollback rate. If you were to reduce that contribution by $15,000.
14,000?
14,000. Let's see. That millage rate decreases from 6.8691 to 6.8596. So basically a 0.01 reduction in the millage rate.
Is .01, how much does that represent in dollars?
It would be about the $14,000.
Okay.
What I'd suggest is leave this alone. Go with option one, where fire department gets their executive. We drop the millage rate in, add the park specialist, and that brings our millage rate down to 6.8691, is that correct? That's what I would go for.
So have you seen any reports from any of these groups about their events?
I haven't looked, but they're available, right?
But I mean,
Yes, we don't send them out to
that's what I'm
council,
saying.
so-
How can you
and-
make that decision when you haven't even seen the reports to see if
But because
they're
I've
worthy
been to
of
their
that?
events for 20-some years.
Well,
you
I've
know,
been
and
to
I
them
see how
too.
a
I
good
don't have
job
anything against their events. I'm
they
saying
do.
that they make a lot of money, some of them. So
Well, it doesn't matter how I think about it or how I look into it. I feel that they're
we're
justified.
responsible for the money. We're
understand that,
fiscally
but-
responsible for the money. So I'm just saying,
Right,
no
you
matter
haven't
if they
looked
made
at 'em
money or
either,
not,
have
we
you?
should be looking at those
Have you
reports.
looked at them, at those reports?
I know what they do.
Oh,
Yes.
but you haven't looked at the reports.
I
so-
have looked at some of them, yes,
Okay.
I have.
Well.
But the bottom line is, I could tell you the ones I haven't seen if you want to know. I haven't seen University High School.
I
We
don't
saw
wanna
that
know
this
what you've
morning,
seen.
right?
I didn't ask that.
But I'm saying, my point is we just need to be fiscally responsible. I don't think anybody off the street, not counting those people, anybody should just be able to walk in and get the money and not show a report. That's all I'm saying. And it's our responsibility to make sure that the events are well attended, right? That they are doing community engagement like we're seeing, right? And what about the other people that want $5,000 or $2,500 or $1,500? They're not getting it. So what makes them stand out from the crowd?
I wouldn't consider these people off the street, okay? Jeff, how long's the Manatee Festival? 40-some years?
40 years.
Okay? They're not people off the street.
Orange City Cirrhosis Club, it'll be 66 years this year they've been in this community.
There you
That
go, they
doesn't-
beat you.
That's,
Everybody's somebody.
are we speaking from the crowd, Mayor?
Okay,
I mean,
I just
come on.
wanted to know. I asked a question, so I wanted an
Okay,
answer.
but everybody else, you may come up and speak at the microphone,
We got
okay?
it. All right,
So my point is that I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I love all these events. All I'm saying is we are responsible for the money, and we should have a report showing us where the money's going. Can you tell me where that money's going for each?
Simple, if you want that, request a report.
Okay, then we shouldn't make this decision today because we don't have that report.
So this first, there's no decisions being made today. We're here looking for guidance
Right.
as to how we should finish up the budget. That's the first thing. You know, the budget, the actual decisions get made at your public
So we're not
hearing.
making any motions or anything tonight, right?
You don't during a workshop.
Okay.
Well, you
So
ma-
we're
you-
just having a conversation.
You may make a motion during a workshop, but it would come back to you for final action at a separate time.
Okay.
And I do want you to know, all of this will go to public hearing once we get to that point. So now we're just looking at how to finish up our budget and hoping that there would be, you know, everyone would be
Yeah.
ear to ear and see eye to eye. And I know that's just not true of
Well, and
human
we're also down a
beings.
council person too, so we don't know what he
Right.
thinks. You know what I mean?
So anyway, today we did have a request, our first workshop on our sponsorship request. We advertise every year for people to come in. We try and solicit. We notify all the recurring events for the 14,000 to submit their documents. And we also put it out to the community to compete for 1,000 and the in-kind. So they submit applications for that money. Those applications will be forwarded to you. We do not have a formal requirement for a report at the closure of an event. And I don't want you to think that we do. Like, I don't think University High School Homecoming Parade has ever turned in a report
Right.
to us. But we track internally how much money we spend on the in-kind and put together a spreadsheet for that. So, the idea of a report and putting in a reimbursement request has not been as formal as a after-action report that you may be thinking of.
Yeah.
It's here are the receipts and here's what we're requesting our money for. But the application form contains the budgets for the entire event, along with quite a bit of other documentation, including IRS forms. I don't know what all goes into it, but that will be coming to you, or could all come to you if you want to look at all of the details when you consider this, which I think is scheduled for your first meeting in September. Is that correct?
September 9th.
On September 9th. And I want to say it'll be that much material, that you'll be given. Normally we give you the PowerPoint, but if you want to look at everything, we're happy to give that to you too.
I'm just saying, before we hand out money, we should know where it's going. That's all.
And what I'd like to say is, like, take the Blue Spring Manatee Festival. Is that all it costs us, $5 grand? Or once it's the police, the fire, sanitation, it's 10 or
we do in kind
15,000?
with it. We give them in kind also.
That's
So
correct.
now we're talking a lot of money.
Yes.
It's
So,
not 5,000, it's maybe 15,000. Now, if the Cirrhosis Club is the same thing, could be 10,000. Now we're at 25,000, not including the other ones. This
so,
could be, what, 50, 60, $100,000?
so the way, what we're trying to do is marry up your budget to the decisions that you will be making on this. And so if in the big picture of things you don't want to be doing this anymore, you could let us know and we can contact the groups and say to them, the rules have changed. You all need to come in to the September 9th meeting, and instead of getting 5,000, you can only get a maximum of 1,000 cash if you follow the plan that was outlined. Or you could leave it the way it is and consider what to do on September 9th when everything's going to be brought to you for a final action. Either way works, but we go through all of this process involving the community to marry it up with your budget. And tonight's meeting is just intended to set the large-scale parameters.
Anyone from the public, come on up, Jeff, and state your name, address for the record, please.
I would have filled this out, but I don't write well, so scribble my name down, please. Jeff Allaback, 482 West Holly Drive, Orange City, Florida. The Manatee Festival started getting $5,000 from the city of Orange City when John McHugh needed to fund us so that he could get the city to be able, by rule, to help because he felt it was a big event at the time. We started in 1985. I wasn't around, but my first festival meeting was August of 1995. We didn't get any city help because the city couldn't afford anything themselves. We had donations given to the city of Orange City in the 90s of 6 shotguns so the police could have some weapons. So we started when city didn't do shit.
What,
Ooh.
Excuse my French, but I'm sitting here and let me tell you, you have goals, city goals of community, heart of West Volusia, all those things. So when we started putting together the festival, Blue Spring State Park didn't really care either. And we brought together the Chamber, Rotary, and they created the Orange City Blue Spring Manatee, and somebody said Springs, and it got written in the corporate paper. So that, we know that's wrong, but the state of Florida won't let us change it. So we started the nonprofit, and it was created in 1997 with about 10 people. I was part of it and been president since 97. And then in the early 2000s with John McHugh, because one of the first things we did because it's a fundraiser for the community, we asked for donations at the door. The people doing parking collect donations. The Eagles Club has a booth that sells beer for the last 20 years, and they make enough money to pay all their rent. And I have paperwork that shows who we gave donations to, but we really don't like throwing it out because sometimes it's special needs for people in the community and it becomes public.
Time.
Wrap it up.
All right. So the biggest thing is you need to keep this event going because it gets more and more expensive and harder every year. If you believe in the goal of community events, then you need to do this because it's also holding on by the skin of our teeth for the expenses that we put on. So if you want to take away all the funding and the major support within kind, you can do it your damn self.
All right. Jeff, did you mean Cirrhosis Club selling beer? You said Eagles Club?
Eagles. Eagles.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking 4th of July. Okay, sorry.
University High School band made over $2,500 with donations to them parking for us.
All right. Okay, we got the picture. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Sharon? Flip a coin.
Good afternoon. Sharon Stafford, 461 South Clark Street, Orange City, Florida. As I sit here listening, I want to make sure we all know Orange City is unique. We are not like all the other cities around here in Volusia County. We are unique. You can go into DeLand. Yes, they have a lot of events. DeLand doesn't sponsor, but they have organizations there that does that. When they have a DeLand festival, the Art Fest, that may not be sponsored by DeLand itself. It happens in DeLand because they got organizations and businesses that pull that together. So for us to sit here and try to compare Orange City with all these other cities that don't give you 500 or 1,000, that's not where we're at. We are a unique organization. We are here to serve our community. When you're doing these events, like Jeff and myself, the sororities, you wouldn't believe the time that we put in to make these events happen for the city of Orange City. The sleepless night, running here, running there, trying to pull these things together. Orange City is unique. Please stop trying to compare us to any other cities, any other communities around. We are unique. We're going to stay unique. We have always been unique, and let us stay where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sharon, good point. I I overheard some teachers talking the other day. They were out in the community trying to fundraise for the football team or one of the organizations. And they were talking about how the businesses in Orange City don't give a lot of money and participate. So that's part of the reason why I think we feel we have to step forward. One.
I'm Dana Knight, 1555 North Silverstone Court, Orange City. I've been listening to this, but I've also been out in the community talking to our taxpayers. While they think it's a great idea that we, make donations to these organizations so they can do what they need to do, they do want to know who's accounting for the money, where's it going, what are they spending it on. These are coming from people in our community. This is not coming from me. It's not coming from Ms. Marks. It's coming from people in our community. They know where their tax dollars are going. It makes sense. I don't think we need to necessarily cut it all out, but I think we just need to see where that money is going. So if we have somebody come up and ask, they can say, how did they spend that money? Well, they can look at it. And I'm not talking about just Cirrhosis Club. There's other people besides y'all. I'm just saying, the taxpayers are wanting accountability. And if you get out in the community and you talk to the people that we serve, they will tell you that. So I just want that to be something that you all think about.
Right. I understand that, exactly what you're saying, but where are all those people tonight when we have our public meetings?
They may be watching.
Okay, okay. Okay, who's next to speak?
That's probably too tall for me. Julie Bertrand, 569 Pearl Street, mostly treasurer of the Manatee Club, president of the Cirrhosis Club. Okay, I have been doing this volunteer, non-paid, sleepless nights for a long time. And first of all, Manatee gets $5,000, they turn around and give back the city $4,500. $2,500 goes to DARE, $1,000 goes to the fire cadets, $1,000 to the police kids. I mean, we just give it right back. So I don't understand the donation part, but it is community. So if y'all don't want us to participate, like Jeff said, have at it. Do all these events yourself. Pay for them yourself. That's great. Because when we get $5,000 from the Cirrhosis Club, we're spending it all plus our own money. It's not just your money. So, and we have to work to get that money. So that's all I have.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Bertrand. I live at 1298 Catherine Street in Orange City. I also want to make it very clear, I'm part of several of these organizations, and no one, absolutely no one, in any of these organizations, no matter what their budget is, makes a paycheck. And we all donate hundreds of hours. I mean hundreds. And our own money and our own time and our sleepless nights and our worries and running around and getting more and more funds. This is just not even a quarter of some of those budgets. So to sit up here and have somebody use their position the way that they're using it is very disgraceful. And any of these organizations, Blue Spring Manatee Festival, the Cirrhosis Club, Everybody is Somebody, would sit down with anybody and open their books, invite them in, bring them to a meeting, has no problem. None. I can guarantee it. And we just answered, the city asked us to specifically list everything that we spend that amount for. And we do apply every year for this money. And every year we come and sit here. Some of you should attend, then you would know what we go through, the questions we answer the board to get approved for this. And it is in front of the board every year. It's not an automatic thing. 5,000 is voted on. It was voted on this morning by the board. It was scored. It was spoke about. Questions were asked. Funny, you were there. You weren't listening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up, Sean.
Sean Papello, 702 Montclair Terrace. You'll have to tell me if I'm doing anything incorrectly. Just be like, you can't say that. I'm a fan of and in support of all of these groups. And I'm also a fan of fiscal responsibility and accountability, and these are all good things. And I'm going to ask a question, so if that's not okay, let me know. The criteria is the same for all applicants, I'm sure. And do their revenues or profits impact their sponsorship ability or ability to receive it? I mean, does that have anything to do with it? Okay. That answers that question. I didn't think it did, but as that came up as we should know what they were making, I thought, well, I just wondered if that had any impact on it. And then I am of the same mind with Mr. Grimm, and that is, those in-kind services cost money too, and if they're not being tracked as part of it, it's kind of a missed thing. Not that I'm opposed to them having them at all, because it takes a lot of people to put on these types of things, and that's something that should be considered and given. My concern with the revamping of it is the staff hours and time that it would take, and I don't know what the answer is, but is that going to be an exorbitant amount of time for them to reevaluate each entity or application to that degree with reviewing reports and all that stuff, because that's also another part of the fiscal responsibility, in my opinion. Am I making sense?
Are you asking?
Can I make a comment on that?
No, she's got the floor right now.
I'm just curious about sort of like unintended consequences. Okay, if we're doing this, and we are, and again, I can see all this like 360. I can see all the sides of it. But if we're doing it to be fiscally responsible, but then it costs, and maybe it's not the same cost on the other side of you have like staff having to prepare these things to come up.
So staff's time right now is spent. We have a multi-person advisory board that gets all of the applications, which contain a great deal of information. And those are reviewed carefully. Ms. McAllister puts together a PowerPoint presentation that gives a synopsis of each one. Each staff person has a score sheet that they fill and rank based on the application meeting all of the criteria and being complete. Would you like to go over what's required in each application?
For the record, time. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. My question was just, would it be beneficial or detrimental to change the system and add staff time, was my basic.
Well, we already, in my opinion, staff already does an adequate job evaluating the applications with a great deal of information, and then after the event, tracking the in-kind costs that we are able to track, knowing that it's an inexact system. We are not set up like a lawyer's office where we can track the use of each diddle and jot and piece of paper and charge them for it. So, and then before we pay out the money, we get a brief, not detailed, report explaining what the expenditures were, and then send the check once we know the event was completed.
I know my time is up, but just for the record, I don't think that the revenues or the profits should have anything to do with their ability to get that. So that wasn't just to be clear, not what I was
But
saying.
we do not evaluate neediness of an applicant.
I just have one quick question.
I want to comment
go
too.
ahead.
Sorry, I was
No,
waiting.
go ahead.
Sorry, here.
No, it's fine.
So I just wanted to comment on a couple of the public comments. First of all, I said again and again, I don't want these events to go away. I think they're great. As far as the meeting this morning, I did listen, and one of the comments is that the money comes back. They give checks back to the city, the cadets and the different groups, right? So it does come back to groups in the community that are worthy of it, right? But it seems like a wash of taxpayer money. We give them $5,000 to the Manatee Festival, and then they come back and give $4,500 to all our city groups who can go out and raise money for their groups, so that we can use that $5,000 for something that our residents need. So that's one of my things I wanted to say. The other thing is when I did listen this morning, I noticed that $1,700 was spent for the haunted house for the Cirrhosis Club, which I know they make more than $30,000 on that. So they charge for the haunted house. So why would we give them money to charge at the door for the haunted house? Think about that, right? So all I'm saying is the events are great. Let's take a look at it. We're not saying cancel anything right now. We're just talking about it, right? Let's see where the money's going. If it's going in the right place, great. If it's not, then let's look at it. As far as working for the money, I know for a fact that these events take a lot of work and a lot of hours. I just did one on Saturday. I'm exhausted from it. So I appreciate that. I think they should be commended for the hard work that they do, especially the Manatee Festival. All the staff, right? Like, everybody's working really hard to do this event that's fabulous, that really puts us on the map. So I am not against the festival at all. I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. That's all. Thank you.
One quick thing. So like University High School gets $1,500. Suppose they wanted to get some band equipment. What do we say? Oh, you already got your $1,500, you're not getting any more?
Well, first, that's not University High School.
School
It's
government.
called the University High School School of Government. It
Okay.
is and once we get into the programs, you will be given a presentation about each one of these requests at your September 9th meeting. Again, tonight is a big picture overview of whether you want to have pots of money available to these groups to apply. So it's not University High School. The actual running of that organization is the DeLand Chamber of Commerce, with funds provided by the City of Orange City, the University High School, and the City of DeBary. And it is for a class of kids to learn about local government, county government, municipal government, county governments, regional government agencies, and state government. And those particular funds are used to defray the costs of going up to the city of Tallahassee.
Right.
So, you're trying to dig into the weeds at this juncture when the question is really not about the individual applicants at this point,
That's right.
but whether or not you want to level the playing field for all applicants, was my understanding, or continue with your line item appropriations. What you may want to do is wait until September 9th to make decisions. Each of the groups that were there will be present or will be invited to attend the meeting, and you will have all of their applications in hand, so that, and Maddie will give the synopsis for each one of these at that meeting, and you could decide at that point whether or not you wanted to continue funding at your current levels. So, at this juncture, you could either decide $30,000 or $15,000, or you could postpone this until you get to September 9th. Because I feel like you're discussing individual applications without having all of the information, and that was not the intent tonight.
I agree.
Also, you know, you need to know that the cadets and both groups are not really city organizations. They've come to before you before asking for funding. They're separately incorporated, and it's a little bit different.
But they
than
fund their own money, right? Like they come up with their own. Do they have a budget through us? No.
No,
That's
they
what I'm
do
saying.
not.
They go
have-
and get
They
their
have
own money.
come to you to ask for
Right.
these funds
Right.
before.
Right.
So.
I am Maddie McAllister, Public Information Officer. I stepped up to go over and review the sponsorship application process that all applicants have to submit. Is that still something we want to do, Ms. Arrington?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think so.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I please? Thank you, Maddie and City Manager. There's a process.
Yeah.
I think we can understand that. So the question about transparency and innuendo about that, I don't know that that's actual, okay, that we have problems with that, because we have meetings and we have criteria and we have processes. Okay, so I think maybe at this point, we all understand that, right? We're good with that? It's not just a blind thing. We're not just throwing money in the air. People have to come, they have to present, and we have historically allocated funds. So the question is, do we historically continue, or do we change that? And I think that's what we need to coalesce around. Are we
Okay.
going to spend $30,000 out of how many millions of dollars we spending in this budget? Devlin, I have a question.
Almost 19 million in general fund.
19 million.
19
We're-
million.
Thank you. We're talking about $30,000. Okay, thank you. In every aspect of this budget, there's areas that we can improve on. It is our responsibility to be stewards of that money. We have spent an exorbitant amount of time for $30,000 out of 19 million. I imagine there's some other areas in there where we could massage $30,000. Okay? Now, there's another point that I may be misunderstanding in the presentation potential of moving forward by Councilmember Marks. Are we removing $14,000 or $30,000, or are we just saying we have to have a process and really actually we're still spending that money? Question.
That's a good question.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the beginning, that's what I said, is we have 15,000 with reoccurring sponsorships, no, non-reoccurring, and then we have 14,000 with reoccurring, right? Is that correct, Dale? So
It's 14,
Four-
16.
14, 16, okay. So the 14,000, alls I was proposing is that we take it off the line item. That was the first thing. And then I said, we should think about taking 30,000 down to 15. That's two different things. I'm open for discussion. I just think that, like you said, I just want to be good stewards of the money, that's all. I don't want to hurt any of these entities or anything. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Okay, so what I think we need to do now, I'm hearing from maybe a couple people down here that they want to change this, and I'm kind of hearing from over on this side that we should leave it the same. So I want to see what our consensus is, who wants to keep it the way it is, or who really wants to move forward with changing it.
And I'd like to wait until we have all our council members.
Well,
Because it
we
would be,
can't, okay, we're going to do it right now.
we don't have to do it. She said we could wait till September.
That's,
Well,
I
it
want to
would-
know for tonight, so Devlin has some
Guidance?
direction. Yeah,
You
yeah.
will, you will not have a vote, you know, and your
That's fine.
decision is not final, but it might be helpful to, you know, see who would like to leave it as it is and who would like to reduce it. I think the question is 15,000 with a $1,000 cap versus maintaining 30,000 and some people getting more than $1,000. So propose new way or leave it as it is.
Okay, so I just want a head nod. Who wants to leave it as it is? Raise your hand if you're, okay. Those opposed? 2, 4 to 2. Devlin, you've got some direction.
And so we'll do it that way. It can be discussed again on numerous occasions.
Right.
So,
Right.
but just for preparing the budget for your consideration at your 2 public hearings will leave 30,000 in this area. And knowing you can always reduce it later.
Right, Devlin.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Devlin, back to you. Maddie, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Okay, so bringing it back to the budget document that's going to be brought to council at the first public hearing, I just want to confirm the guidance that I have from you all. As it pertains to the executive assistant for the fire department, you're good with that? The maintenance specialist for the Parks and Rec department, you're good with that?
Right.
And reducing the millage rate to 6.8691.
Right.
Let's do the same thing and make sure we're good on those points.
Okay, okay. So this is option 1 as amended with the parks person,
Correct.
correct? Okay. All those in favor of that, raise your hand. Okay,
Great.
that's
Okay,
everybody.
thanks.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you. The next discussion point is in regards to the general fund reserves. As you know, the city has very healthy reserves in most of its funds, especially the general fund. The projected fiscal year end fund balance for the general fund is $10.3 million. This is in addition to the funds that are set aside in the facility construction fund. When you take into account the minimum policy threshold, that's the threshold that's established by the fund balance policy the council adopted earlier this year, you need to have set aside $4.75 million. That's for anything that may come up during the fiscal year, whether it's a disaster or economic turmoil, something of that nature. Those funds are set aside and you can tap into those at your discretion. Then you also know that the proposed budget currently has a $409,000 transfer in from fund balance for that non-recurring capital outlay. That leaves an unassigned fund balance for council's discretion of $5,178,849. Again, staff's provided 2 recommendations. The first one would be to go ahead and move forward with purchasing the fire engine for Station 67. The cost of that fire engine is $865,000. The order would be placed in October, November, and probably wouldn't see the new truck until 2026. The next recommendation as part of that option is to take the remaining balance of that discretionary fund balance and move it to the capital improvement fund, establishing a fund balance in that for future capital outlay. So as we discussed during our 101s, there's a number of potential capital outlay coming down the pike, a potential $1.3 million grant match for the Mill Lake and Industrial Drive stormwater improvements. We have the shuffleboard complex that needs to be dealt with, a parking lot for City Hall, interior renovations for City Hall, plus those other road improvements that are scheduled as part of the road assessment that was presented to you earlier. So that's setting it aside, and you can tap into that at a later date. But it's getting it out of the general fund, and you're purposing it for capital improvement. The other option would be anything the council desires. So if you, wrong computer. So again, I'd like to turn it over to council for discussion. This slide has the fund balance recap on the left and then the options for consideration on the right.
I'm in favor of that because we have a lot of capital improvement projects coming up that we have planned for as a council to make things a lot better in our city. And so I think that's a firm, good plan.
I agree.
I'm seeing head nods on
Yes.
option 1. Anthony?
Yes, I like that.
Okay. Easy. That one was easy, Devlin.
Yes, sir. Thank you, council.
Now it's $5 million.
Yes, right.
Okay.
That was.
Right. 5 million. I just need to say that again, right?
Yeah, but next year that fire truck's gonna be $1 million.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, given the progress that we made tonight, would council like to consider canceling the tentative second budget workshop that was scheduled for August 26th?
If we don't need it, right?
I think staff has the direction we need to bring something good to you at the first public hearing, and I don't see a reason to have it, but Unless
good
you
with
like to
that.
hear me talk.
We're
You'll
good
get
with
to
that,
hear a
yeah.
lot of that in September 9th.
No, we've heard enough. No. Right, I think we're good with that. Everybody said yeah?
So I want to let you know that the debate will continue according to the way we're required to do public hearings on budgets. You're going to have the public hearing on the budget before you hear the sponsorship requests. You can always come back and deal with the questionable $15,000 or $30,000 on the 24th.
Right.
I'm just letting you know that because, you know, once again, just the way it works out to line everything up in your budget, you know, you're forced to either postpone hearing sponsorships until after your budget is adopted, in which case it's too late for the homecoming parade and a couple of the other organizations. So we're trying really hard to make the process work for everybody. So.
And to be clear, whether it's 30,000, 15,000, or 5 million, we're still responsible for it. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So,
Yes, sir.
So there's another, and we're continuing. Is there any other presentation?
I am done. I just
Okay.
want to indicate that we do have the public hearing. It's going to be on Monday, the 9th at 6:30. That'll be your regular meeting. Public hearing for the budget will be first, and then your regular council agenda. There may be some other minor revisions and tweaks to the budget that's presented to you, and we'll outline that in the first public hearing presentation.
So then there is, this is a workshop in the subject of the budget. I would like to have the discussion about council members and compensation. We're talking about massaging this budget. We're talking about being good stewards. We're talking about the people's money. I'm talking about what we get compensated. Could we do better for our community? Could we trim that budget? Should we trim that budget? Is that something that we should consider? I put that out there.
Well, I think that's a great idea. A lot of communities, people volunteer their time. I know school boards, places up north, they serve and they get no compensation whatsoever. Do we really need to be paid to be here to meet a couple hours twice a month? You know, that's the question.
I think it's a reasonable question.
I'll make a comment on that. Considering you two are not going to be here in the future, it really should be us discussing this. But
We may come back
with all
at
due
some
respect,
time. Yeah,
well, I hope
don't
so.
count your
I hope
chickens.
so. I'm not saying that I don't want you back. I'm just saying, but
Well, we know you don't want
we
us
get.
back.
You're retiring. You're going boating, okay? $200 a week is about what we make as council members. We put a lot of gas in our cars, and we do more than just 2 meetings a month. We are talking to our constituents. We are meeting with people. We do all kinds of things. So I think that $200 is not asking for too much for what we do up here. And a lot of people go, "You get paid. You should do this and you should do that." Well,
Do my job for 200.
yeah, $200 a week. You know, that's not a lot. And I personally do volunteer a lot of my time with a lot of organizations. So, you know, you can only volunteer so much. Just saying.
Well, to some people, $200 a week is a lot of money. Okay.
Sure.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that means a lot to.
And Mayor, if I may please.
Yes.
Do we have any documents or data that could support any of this conversation? So I know we're talking subjectively here. Thank you. But this is some actual costs to our citizens.
Thank you.
And when you look at these numbers, it's more than a couple $100. When you frame it in one way, or you can frame it in another. I'm looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So you're not just talking about our salaries, you're talking about everything that's involved in the council budget, right?
Talking about everything on this, on
Gotcha.
the whole thing, and none of it at all. We're having a discussion about it. But
Eh.
these are the costs to our community that we're all part of. This is what it costs to have our pearls of wisdom come out of our mouths.
Can I ask you a question? Do you mind, Mayor?
You've got the floor.
Yeah, I'm
Wanna
asking.
yield?
Yield?
When I came in for my first term, I believe that you all voted for a raise right before I came into the council. Is that true?
There was, I will for the record note that I voted against that.
Okay. That's not, but that's what happened right before I came in. I know that.
Mayor,
Yes.
that has been in place since when?
18, 19?
Time, yeah.
So,
The
Yeah.
salaries are indexed to match city employees' cost of living
Right,
increase.
COLAs, right.
thank you. And I voted for that, for all folks to understand that. And we could do better. We can do better. This is a real cost to our community. And we're talking about a difference of $30,000 and how we want to have additional staff. We are raising taxes for our community right here and now with what we've proposed. And I'm not disputing that we have needs and we need staff. Many hands make light work. We are raising taxes. And out of the $19 million worth of budget, this is an area that we can do better. That is why I asked for this to be something that we look at. And I believe that we should sharpen our pencil. And yes, I will not be here next year, but as you have said, this isn't our money.
Right.
And any amount of money in any area, we should be looking at with deep scrutiny.
So where do you propose we cut? I'm curious.
Well, I do believe that there is, to this point, I think the compensation, the actual compensation dollars, the money that's being deposited into our bank accounts, I think that's where we need to cut. I do believe that it would be unfair to have a council do the work of the community and not be compensated for their drive. Or if they attend something and there's a cost associated with that attendance. I don't think that you should come out of your pocket. I don't think that's fair. But I do believe there's an area here where we get money, we make a salary, we get compensated. That's where we should be addressing that. The rest through here, and it's line item, you know, and I mean, this is, you know, areas that we can tighten up.
So
just-
we can make the full line item budget for the city council. My budget notebook is far thicker than yours. It accounts for all of your pens and pencils, and then we summarize it down.
Yes.
So there is a actual set of detail sheets, you know, for each department that undergoes horrible scrutiny. And council's, you know, outlines exactly what you're spending all of these items on. We can make that available to you.
Mr. Mayor?
Right, go
Can I
ahead.
comment? So when I applied to be on the council or ran, I didn't even know I got a salary. I heard about it after I won. I was like, okay, cool, that's great, right? But what worries me is, will it not want people to run if they're not, because not everybody has a volunteer spirit like a lot of us, you know what I mean? And they may go, I'm not doing that for nothing, you know what I mean? And that could deter people from running for office.
Well,
It could, I don't know, I'm just
I don't
saying.
think that's a good argument because 4 of your 6 seats here, you know, how many people ran unopposed? Up here, 3? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's a valid, but just so the public knows, the figure Anthony's talking about with the salaries and fringe benefits is $167,000, $167,253. So that's almost $168,000. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
What's
So-
our fringe benefits? I'm just curious.
Retirement.
Retirement?
So fringe benefits are going to
FRS.
include the taxes, Social Security, Medicare,
Gotcha.
and the FRS, Florida Retirement
Right.
System contributions.
And can you break down the 100,000? Is it, there's 7 of us, so
It's on the bottom. The breakdown's on the bottom. Current salaries.
14,000 or 15,000.
Yep. And mayor gets.
12,482.
Mayor- more. He deserves it.
Mayor goes out a little more too.
I'm just trying to make some jest here.
No, but no, I would serve for free. I never came to this job. I didn't know they got paid either when I first got on here in 1998. I just volunteered my time. I was nominated by the council, and here I am. So I don't do it for the money.
And Mayor, may I? Thank you. So I have heard other council members speak to the fact that they didn't know they received funding until after the fact. So that, I think, counters who would run. I think the fact that we have often unopposed, that's not the motivation. So that, I recognize the concern.
Yeah.
We want people to participate, but we have half this council often walk in without anybody having any issues at all. And then, so my proposing moving forward is that we take a sharp pencil, look at those personnel services, salaries, fringe benefits, and put a haircut on it. And that would then reduce our millage rate, and we might not be raising our taxes.
Jeff, do you remember, what'd we get? 25 bucks a meeting, 50 bucks a meeting? 50.
$50 a meeting with a max of 40.
There you go.
That was a very long time ago.
Well,
Sorry.
it was, but
Cost of
you know,
living's
that-
really high right now. And, as far as the council with their salaries, it just seems like, we work hard up here, and if we take, let's just say we take less pay. I'm not against it totally. I'm just saying, we pay into our retirement too with this. This is, right? This is part of our pension. You're getting ready to retire, so you paid into
I
that.
don't pay into it anymore because I'm in drop for the last
Right,
6
but you
years.
did, is my point. And part of this position for how many years? 24, 25, 26 years?
Yeah.
26 years, the council has paid into your pension, right? So not a lot. I know it's not a lot, but every little bit helps, right? So just consider that, we're all getting older and we do give our time. I know I give a lot of time to this council, and I know a lot of people up here do, all of us, right, for that matter. And we don't see what each other's doing. We all do our own thing, so.
We haven't been an FRS employer for that entire time.
Oh, okay.
It's only been, I want to say, 12, 15 years, maybe.
2004.
Did you have something to say, Jeff? Come up, speak in the mic, please.
Jeff Allebeck, 482 West Holly Drive. Point of reference on some of the compensation and theories behind that. One of the reasons why we keep getting nobody running for office, because people say, I'm not doing that for any amount of money. But it could be mitigated for a more, and don't take this offensively, this is trying, because as the professional person working in the community as a younger person who has to go to work waiting tables, could possibly, instead of waiting tables, come serve the community as a council member, instead of everybody sitting on this dais that's 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And it's not an offensive thing, it's a theoretical thing, that if somebody could say, well, I could become a council member and make 10 or 11,000, then we need to do that. You don't want to cut back on the training opportunities. Part of your budget you're looking at is the budget for people to go to League of Cities, paying for, well, actually TPO pays for the own trips. But if you're a council member and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're giving up work, PTO, and giving those things up to do it. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face by not expecting your council member to be an educated, developing professional instead of somebody that just sits here on Tuesday night for a couple hours and works themselves into a tizzy over 30 grand.
Well, Jeff, you had that same argument many years ago when.
Yeah, and I won.
And no, well, yeah, but look, where's all the young people?
Well,
no offense, you know,
well,
we're not all
again-
youngsters up
again,
here.
because-
I don't see them. I'm sorry, I don't
Well,
agree with that.
because it's not, maybe the theory is maybe it's not enough. Maybe 11,000, you act like it's a lot of money. Maybe it's not. It's very hard. The statement is it's very hard to do that. But if you just keep cutting things back, like I can tell you, the city of Orange City needs another Parks and Rec or Public Works to mow the grass and trim the streets.
We just did that.
Well, I
tonight.
know, so don't cut my taxes and have my city look like shit.
Well, please watch your language.
I'm watching it, but
Okay, you
I've
know how I
lived here
feel about it.
since
I know it's your right to curse all you want, but I don't appreciate it, and
All
I don't
right,
think the rest of the
since
council does.
1992, I've been paying my taxes to Orange City.
All right,
and serving, and I understand.
Your time's up,
but
Mr.
don't cut
Albaugh.
your nose off to spite your face over
Right,
a
your
couple
time's up.
bucks, so.
But this brings me to another thing that I've said for years, is we don't need a 7-person council. We're a small city, you know, 5 people would be plenty and a lot more effective. Okay, did you have something
I
else?
did, just a reiteration. I appreciate Jeff's commentary. Having been a longtime council member, he has perspective. But what I'm talking about is not about reducing travel per diem, cell service, other things that are contributory to the work and the education and the betterment of this community. I am literally talking about paychecks and things that are associated with the fringe benefits. $167,253. Let's do better than that. Let's cut that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
And I know you work full-time,
I do.
but you don't put the gas in my car, you don't pay the insurance on my car.
Right.
Things are very expensive.
Yes.
And I'm making $12,000 a year, and you want me to make less, running around to grand openings, to
No.
rubbing kit?
No, sir. Here's what I'm not saying that. I'm saying you would then submit mileage and receive compensation for it. You already can. Right now, every place you go to, you can get that back. That is nothing new. That is not something I've come up with. That is actual. Right now, Harry, you can get compensated. I don't want you to spend any money out of your pocket.
Well, I was under the impression that we didn't do that nobody does that.
Well, that's not
You
true.
can do it. No, it's true.
It's available. And so what I'm saying to, if it takes,
I'll get you, Lisa.
it takes you money to do, you need a cell phone, you need
course it
business
does.
cards, you need all those things. I'm saying keep those in place, because we need to serve these people, right? We need to be available, and we need to be out there. All that is in place. That is below that line. That 167 is money that we receive as a check. The rest is what it is the rest. And I'm not telling you to spend money out of your pocket. I would never say that.
Mayor.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes, and for the council members that's sitting on this dais who never bothers to turn in a mileage receipt. I've been here for a while now. I think I turned in 2, maybe 3, but I do a lot of traveling.
Right, well,
And I know, hey, I'm compensated some type of way
Okay.
because I don't turn in mileage.
But you're receiving something currently as a paycheck per se. But if you didn't, then you would turn in the,
Maybe not,
okay, or you wouldn't.
maybe not, because, maybe not.
Okay. Your call.
True call, that's right. Okay.
Maybe we
Mike.
should start tracking our hours, how many hours we put in a week for this,
Go.
and then do the math.
Time and a half,
And then,
40.
I mean, I think last week or the week before, we went to 4 events in 1 week. that were, some of them were on the east side of the county. And we were out till what, 10:30 at night?
You don't
And
have
we
to
work-
go to all the events.
We don't have to, but our job is to serve the constituents and learn from other cities and get educated by things that are going on in other cities so that we can get ideas to do that in our city. We don't necessarily want to copy other cities, but it's good to have common practice of what everybody's doing so we're on the same page, right? You know this. I'm not going to preach to you,
No,
but
you know, I've always said when you go to the Volusia League meetings, sit with people from other cities.
Yeah, and
I
I
do
do.
that quite often. You
Yeah.
know, don't just be in one group with yourselves because you're not really learning anything.
it's
So-
showing support too.
So, all right, but good point, Mr. Papella. I appreciate that. And, I think it is something we should consider. Okay, anything else before we wrap it up here? Devlin, you're done, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're just listening now, right?
Taking notes.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Okay, I will adjourn the meeting then, right? We're adjourned. Good point, Anthony. Appreciate that. We do.